Hello guys, this is Kevin. A big update of my plugin is coming for the newest version of Unreal Engine 4, and before releasing a new series of tutorials about the newest features that are coming with my plugin, I wanted to make this video that will be focused on solving the issues you might find with your own project if you update to this version. So I have a project here that has been updated from 4.18 to 4.19, and as you see here, if I try to click play, the editor will tell me that there are some errors that need to be solved. So let's solve these errors. So for this new version of this plugin, I have created a new component that is called CSW Store component. This new component will be mainly responsible for saving and loading blueprint structures. As you may know before, blueprint structures are well, were not very well supported before. So also, as this component will be responsible of saving and loading data, I decided to exclude the functions getSaved and setSaved variables from the CSW Autosave component and include these functions on the new component. So if you're using these functions, getSaved and setSaved, you now need to add this new CSW store component to your actors. So in this case, I'm going to get saved booleans from the CSW store component. So I'm going to replace these functions using a new component instead. Okay, so another problem you might find with the update is that if you click to the CSW autosave component, you will see that the events and the name of the events are changed now. Now they are called on begin save, for example, instead of on save start. But even if the names are changed, you see that it is still working. If you click view, it will link to this new event. If you have problems, I recommend you to delete the event you have and to recreate them. But after I updated this project, I didn't find any issues with these changes, so you probably won't have those issues too. But if you have it, you need to recreate these events. As you see, the issues related to the components are not really a big deal, but you will find that the issues related to the global functions are you will need to replace them completely, but they are not really hard. So before replacing the global functions, I'm going to solve the same issues I'm having with the third person character. So in my case, the editor is not telling me about the errors that are related to the global functions of the plugin, but yes, there are some errors, and you'll need to go to the place where you have implemented the global functions, and I am speaking about the save game to slot, load gun from slot functions. So in this case, I'm going to the player controller, and you'll see here that I have errors that I need to solve. So let's solve these errors. Luckily, the logic of these global functions are not very complex, so this is not going to take too much time. Uh, for this new version, I have made some changes to the functions: autofill, autoload actors, save game to slot, and load game from slot. And I also added support for asynchronous functions, which I'm going to speak about in the next tutorials. In this case, I'm going to simply replace these functions to make the same thing that they are doing here. So I'm going to call the new function I have created, the CSW's load game from slot. And you see here that they don't have the compressed suffix. Instead, you can decide if you want to compress it or not by checking the boolean. You can also now use a new custom path that I'm going to speak about this in the next tutorials. But for now, I'm going to focus only on making this logic work as it was working before. So let's do this. Here, if you remember the previous functions, autofill, save, game object, and autoload actors, uh, um, you will see that there are some changes here. The previous functions didn't have these inputs: level name array, actors to serialize, or autosave and load component array. And I decided um, to include these inputs as before these inputs were obtained automatically, but instead I decided to make it manually, so you can filter. You can filter by level, for example. But as this is a generic system that is going to save all the levels, I'm going to simply obtain get level names. And for the actors, I'm going to use the get actors with component, get all actors with component that is automatically selected. That automatically selects the component, the CSW Autosave component. So as you see, it is very simple to fix this. Now I'm going to replace this say game to slot compressed, and it is very similar to load game from slot. So as you see here, both are compressing the file. It is very important that when you save a file, compress it, you also need to load the file compressed, as this new version of the plugin is using a custom extension for the files. Now the files that are compressed are just saved as CSAB files, .csab files. So I'm going to replace this function, and also I'm going to replace now the autoload actors data from save, which is very similar to autofill save game object. So I need to feed the inputs of this function. I'm going to copy the nodes from the autofill save game object, and I'm going to just set them. So as you see, these issues that you will find when you upgrade your project are really easy to solve. So I hope this video is very helpful and you will not have problems upgrading your project. And I'm going to continue this solving these issues, as this particular project has many examples. So there are many implementations of the save system. In your project, of course, you will probably not have this problem. So I'm going to simply speed up this video here, and in the next tutorials I'm going to speak about the newest features that are coming. So if you have still problems upgrading your project, please don't hesitate to ask me some questions. So I'm going to wrap up the video now, and let's continue in the next tutorial.